Collective consciousness from the future that uses biology and technology to inject important ideas into the past for the betterment of humanity throughout time.
Yo. Yo, 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 yo. Yo. There we go. There we go. There we go. What's up? Okay. Welcome to Signal. You made it. We're back. We're here. You did it again. You did it again. What's up to the chat? Say what's up. Let me know. Let us know you're here. And then also keep an eye out for the Signal. Let me know if it's fucked up, if there's some audio weirdness, anything. Be extra vigilant. There's some superior fuckery afoot. Got a good one. Got a good one. Speaking of F alliterations, we got Frank Bot, who will be traversing the... I'm not calling it metaverse anymore. We'll get to that. Traversing the beautiful lands that we all know and love. And we have the great, the beautiful, the boundlessly brilliant Billain with us as well. So welcome. What's up, Bill? How you feeling today?
Hey. Good. As usual. Working days. Resting now. So yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of things that were happening today, so this is like...
Yeah, it's a wild one.
I'm kind of ready for this conversation, man.
It's a wild one, and we've been talking a lot as it is. Yeah. Oh, let us know how the audio is, by the way. I'm manning the guns and trying to keep an eye on everything. If it all sounds good, give us the thumbs up in the chat. Who we got in the chat, by the way? I see a Tupper. What's up, Tup? Hope you're feeling good. We got a V in. We got a V. What's up, V? We got a Kai. Masterful Kai. We got Bloodspark. Yeah. We got Pancake. Friends in the chat. Yeah. We got an Amos in the chat. Always good to see an Amos. We got a Tosca. Tosca. Oh, yeah. That's great. Yeah. So we were both relatively stricken by a common event in that happened in the world, something that I'm thankful that happened, something that the universe needed to deliver to us once and for all, and that thing is a really good fucking Dune movie.
Yeah.
A really, really incredibly done and well executed Dune movie. Now, I think we should probably be sensitive to spoilers for people, but I think there's enough that can be spoken to without giving away anything, just in case, there's people that haven't seen it. At this point, there's no reason why you shouldn't have seen it. But, life happens, I get it. And so you saw it IMAX, right? Did you see it IMAX?
Yeah.
Oh, I still need to see it IMAX. So, fuck.
Yeah. It was a very special... it was a very, very special experience.
Now, seeing things that was shot for IMAX, right? There's a bunch of scenes that are formatted for that aspect ratio, I think. So that's like the best way to see it. I need to figure that out. I need to get over to another island that has an IMAX and need to go on an adventure. Yeah, so I was vibrating for like 2 days after I saw it. It was visually just one of the... It felt like someone finally did the thing that's sort of been like on the edge of our imaginations. Like people were sort of flirting with this, visually, the last Blade Runner attempt was really cool, but it just didn't.
I agree.
It didn't like back it up with anything else, and soundtrack had some cool stuff too, obviously. But this I felt like it was stunning. When did you realize that you were looking at something special? How long did it take you?
Surprisingly, I knew I was about to dive into something as soon as the first voice came in.
Yeah.
Which was like literally in the first 5 seconds of a video. You're dealing with a totally different filmmaker than the rest of the people, and if you know Danny, you know he takes his time to develop something.
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely a person of patience, and that is kind of a he's one of the endangered species, to be honest, when it comes to narration.
Good way to put it.
Because because everybody's like, are we there yet, you know, and he's known to like take his things slow, take his vision in a different color spectrum as well, compared to the rest of the color spectrums in Hollywood. You know, I wouldn't ever consider him to be Hollywood because of the quality he possesses.
Interesting.
So,
Interesting, right? Yeah. I mean, just
so in that light, you know, like you know that this guy can turn like a very specific development of a story in his own unique way without any kind of, you don't feel pressure from the like finances or some kind of directive that has like the creative control over him. You never can tell if he has the creative control, or like if he's under some specific creative control or not. Like you can say, you can just say like whether he's aiming for something to be PG or rated R, but you can never say like that he's doing something like, you know, that has someone else's guidelines.
Yeah, no lapse in
that's
integrity.
great.
I think he's also probably good, because I mean, obviously there is some red tape that you have to adhere to when you deal with a project at that scale. But I think like
Exactly.
another skill would be to mask that shit, you know, obfuscate the evidence of that with your art, to be like, okay, I'll roll with your punches, but you're still not going to be able to fucking tell. Like it's still my work, it's still my art, no matter like what limitation you give me. Also, show
Most
it.
importantly, you can feel like that it's a passion project, like because he's been like he said that he made this film for the audience of one, himself. In the interview, he's repetitively saying that he made it because he's the biggest fan, and it was really hard to like
that he was trying to live up to
his expectations.
His 14-year-old self expectations, which I think are somehow more like grandiose, which is awesome. Show of hands in the chat who has seen it, by the way. I'm curious about like how many, like what the ratio of people is.
Whoever hasn't seen it should see it right now. And yeah, I really don't want to spoil it for you. And
no, we won't say anything that's spoilerful, but there's enough to talk about that you don't have to. I think.
Yeah,
like,
but I kind of wanted to speak about a few Goosebumps, you know, like, but
right.
That's the problem with Goosebumps.
Right, they come from unexpected moments. They can. I think that there's a YouTube interview, or just like a little. I hope that's part of a larger series. I hope that they walk with him through the entire movie. But there's a scene that they go through in the movie, and there's a little like breakdown with him just explaining where he was coming from with one of the scenes in the book. And again, straight off the bat, probably within the first 60 seconds, I was like, oh, okay, it's painfully apparent why this is such a magnificent thing. And I mean, I've watched it before bed a few times now, so I've had the experience of seeing it both like, you know, big and small, and it's still really cool, but like they made that movie to be larger than life. They made that movie to be on a canvas that's like, you know, fucking 100 feet across. It's and to be fucking loud. Like it's to be experienced loud and huge. And I think you can get enjoyment out of it either way. But it's just like I don't even know. It's like you wouldn't be doing it any justice, or doing yourself any justice. I barely even want to watch it after I've seen it now. I barely want to watch it on a small screen now, because I've done it a couple times. But the architecture is incredible. The lighting, like if there's one thing that like I hope this continues a trend in, is contrast. Like there's actual like medium contrast. Like it's not just fucking railed into black or some like heavy overly saturated, like, you know, the Marvel look is cool, and there's some really beautiful scenes in there, don't get me wrong, but this movie just keeps this even tone through the entire thing, and in that they can't hide.
Yeah.
There's nothing to hide. There's no details to hide. They're not masking anything. Every little detail and texture and costume choice and, you know, every little thing is visible and cohesive.
We're talking about someone who actually takes his color grading seriously, and also takes his color grading in a non-Hollywood way, which means that to think like he also creates colors based on like what he wants you to focus on, rather than just like let's create a room that's a sci-fi looking, and that's a big surprise to me. Like he exactly explained that one place. Like he said, like this should be looking like a nightmare, and when you look at it, it really is. You know, like that's what, you know, a certain set of colors actually conclude without adding like contrast that will just like create total darkness. Instead, he creates this like thing that you always, because of the weak contrast, you're always searching to find and finding more details, just because it's that type of a surrounding. And oh boy, there's a lot of details. But like this is really interesting to see, like the weapon for like the eye in terms of focus is very profoundly like in an interesting contrast. Like a lot of like minimalism, and then there's also like a other side of it. Like there's so many details in one aspect, and then he simplifies the next scene, and you're like looking at just one object or just one structure or just one, and you're like, you know, yeah, it takes a like either people are either like torn like focused on one side or the other, but being torn on two sides of that aspect and just like giving so much details and so little details and keeping it cohesive, that is really a really hard task to fulfill.
Yeah.
To be able to deliver this as a one believable thing, you know.
Yeah, I
and
agree.
Also the size. Speaking of the size, I mean, like, dude, I mean those spaces and places, and they do really show sizing like in a totally new way. And maybe that was me in IMAX, but I know if you
the
took
scale was
IMAX as a
communicated.
canvas, you know.
Yeah, no, the scale
Yeah.
is communicated at like any size you watch it, and I did notice that there's
Yeah.
like I think it was sort of an awareness of like there's always something bigger. That's what I noticed is like when conveying the scales at all different sizes, there's always something bigger. Like so it's and like your mind can sort of traipse through that. I'm curious about people that didn't read the book, that encountered the movie. I'm curious about their takes. I wonder. I almost feel sad for them, because this is one of those things where like.
Not necessarily.
Well,
because,
no.
Like, I think it has a good mission to actually track people in the even deeper lore after the film.
Totally, but what I mean is like normally the whole book was better thing. I mean, this is an interesting situation because like Dune has such a kind of spiritual place in the sci-fi universe. I mean, fear is the mind killer. You know, there's some deep ritual. There's some the colors and the palette and the you know, some of the lore from that story lurks deep in our subconscious, our collective subconscious. Like everybody been inspired by Dune that takes sci-fi seriously, and so I think that like the word that kept coming to my mind was ceremonial. The whole movie had this ceremonial overtone to it, and it felt like that's perfect because it was just like this really careful extraction, like almost like a seance for a metaphysical, you know, hologram of what might be in our collective imaginations. And there was enough space to do that. There's enough. It left enough to the imagination in certain respects, and he even talked about that in that little thing. He was saying, like, didn't want to use special effects for certain scenes because he wanted to communicate emotions with facial expressions, or to communicate it in the subtle sort of modalities of the way the scene is set up, so that, and like just shit like that right there. Like we need so badly, we need more of that. And I was so inspired by the obvious decision to peel back and scale down when you have, probably more money than God to make that movie, and could be going guns blazing the entire time. Immense restraint in some of those scenes.
No, this is what is special about this particular sci-fi film. I mean, the whole narrative. You do have a task to, in this part, introduce all kinds of people for the first time, and also the ones who already know to reintroduce to the story. So you have multiple tasks, which is really hard, because like I think that's why he focused on a very particular thing. As he said, he was keeping that book next to himself, like a
Bible,
like a holy book.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he would dial the story every now and then just to remind himself what he needs to feel, in terms of descriptions of objects, the emotions, the reactions of characters, and to be reminded of settings, and also to fill in the gaps, how to describe certain situations, how to describe certain scenes, which means that, like, even for the fans, diehard fans, like, this is the closest that it gets to the book, because you have to like be that kind of a fan to actually follow like page by page, and try to like select within a limited time, because a perfect Dune thing would probably like last for 15 hours,
which I'd be fine with.
Yeah, I would be fine with.
If it would look like that, please give us the 6 hours.
Yes,
fucking director.
Yeah, yes, please. Like we can literally kill several networks and use that money to create like a 20-hour, Dune, and nobody would like bat an eye. It would be a perfect world.
Yeah, let's keep homie busy for the rest of his life. Like, let's just
I
give him a
think
lifelong
he is
project.
going to be. Yeah, he's going to be quite busy, because, like, I mean, he has now proven that he can do another part, and he can, who knows? Like, this thirst of quality is always honest. It's always like, yeah, it's always honest, because once someone can do something, like, I don't know, like, there's the way you would cheer up on Peter Jackson for what he did, like with Lord of the Rings, the way you cheered up for Wachowski's, like, even all of this, like, continuation has certain, like, praising, and then it also has like you have to kind of, I mean, it's a really hard task for them, but I mean, there's nothing more beautiful, especially if you're a fan of something, and then now you have a chance to actually make it, based on a book or your own story, or stuff that you really want to make in terms of film. Like, it's a very special place to be in. Like, I just hope that, like, he's gonna continue on this level. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the trick, is pulling it off again and keeping it like that. I mean, honestly, whatever. I'm just fucking happy that there's something like original that's cool. We have been on such a long cycle because we're just reaching this like peak capitalism oscillation with like popular media and content, where we're just like regurgitating the same exact themes and the same fucking bullshit over and over again.
You cannot. I keep saying you cannot mass produce originality. End of story. I keep saying that. Like, it's not possible. It is not possible for like to have a continuous stream of this safe bets, safe stuff.
And thank fuck.
And Denny is niche thing, and I approve niche thing. I am a niche thing in my own area, and I cannot relate to his sufferings and all of his like people not understanding what he's doing with Blade Runner. I can understand what the guy has a vision, and this is more important than life. This is bigger than if you have a vision, you can always you can always create something new, always.
Yeah,
that's and that's a blessing, and a curse at the same time, because the curse is the moment, because like if your vision are not going to be taken seriously, or your vision are not going to be taken for granted, or on a level that you desire, because they're niche art. And for him to be now between all of these like quick little actions that will be forgotten within weeks is like, you know what it means.
Yep.
It's a fundamental, deep, foundation, concrete, reinforced concrete foundation for him.
Yep, I agree.
And for the sci-fi genre.
Thanks for letting us know about the clipping. I'm trying to keep an eye on it. It's I think as we get more spirited in conversation, Billain's volume and power levels rise. This is a real thing, and there's so much, in music industry. This is something that, like, obviously we've watched kind of on the sidelines in horror with, as just, A&R's role is basically to just like watch people's metrics and watch, just farm numbers and basically just do unoriginal shit and just bet on, they don't have to take a risk with their own personal taste or inclination or whatever. They're just finding shit that already has proof of, of value. And it's like, that bleeds, that's everything now. Now that we have metrics slapped and associated with everything, it's everything. And that's one of the reasons why I talk about it maybe every time, who fucking knows, but I think it's really important for the mental health of artists out there right now. I don't give a fuck about numbers. I try really, really, really hard. I fight really, really hard
artists, to not. Please don't be prostitutes. Please.
Yeah. To not feel good, overly good, or feel overly bad about any numbers. It works both ways. You have to have sort of a stoic approach to this, which is like, if I do something and it does well, great, cool, and I'm more excited.
What you want.
Yeah, I'm more excited about if I communicated something properly, or if I could tell that people had a meaningful connection to it. That's what's mostly exciting to me. And wow, Frank's really out here working. He's chopping wood now. If I'm doing something that is meaningful to someone else, that I make a big deal out of that personally. That's when I'll do my personal victory dance. But numbers, I just don't want to be swayed by anymore. I don't want to feel bad when they're not good, and I don't want to. They don't even feel that good when they are good. So I really don't give a fuck. And anyway, I think like a lot of the coolest shit that I come across, and you could probably agree, a lot of the coolest shit that I see is just completely fucking off the radar, underground. It's people that don't have big numbers. It's not big stats. Every day there's just this army of mutant, insane fucking artists just climbing up the side of the fucking halls and the walls, scaling the walls of these like big giant fucking institutions, and these big giant like names that are already in place that have money to pump them up and put behind them. And I don't know, I'm more interested in people that are creating something meaningful for themselves or for other people. I hunt that down. I mean, obviously I just like shit that looks cool or sounds cool too, don't get me wrong, but we have to really put emphasis on and celebrate like unique shit, or we're doomed to another fucking 20 years of God, whatever they decide to just keep recycling every 10 years. And the window's getting shorter, by the way. I think maybe I lost Bill from the stream. It's just me. That's fine. I can yak about this while Bill gets his stream set up. Let me actually fix a thing real quick. Let me check the chat. What do we got? What y'all saying? You guys can talk to me. What's your opinion on numbers in your personal artwork? Do you let it sway you, or how? What are some things you do to not get swept in the sauce with numbers? Yeah, the personal level thing with people, exactly, V. Let me make sure Billain's okay. 1 second. I told you we always have crazy signal issues here on Signal, ironically enough. Let me just check. Anyway, Frank's still running strong. What you got over there, Frank? You got a map? Are you making a house? You building a house? Yeah. We'll see. Everson. Fucking Eber. I still want that book of Eberisms, by the way. I need a book of Eberisms. I need that ASAP. Okay, so Frank's, I think Frank's building roller coasters, I think. Is that what that is, Frank? Give me a signal. Oh, yeah, I see train track thing. That's like a whole VR map where you have to go cut down trees and gather supplies and then build it's like Roller Coaster Tycoon, but in VR. And it's really cool. I like the music in there too. It's real chill. It's real spicy. Let's see. Pancake says, numbers just won't make you happy. And if you get stuck with the number dopamine drip, yeah, it's hard to get out of. Yeah. So that's a real thing, like not scrolling. I've got a bunch of different strategies in place to avoid scrolling myself. I replace it with other things. I even will keep things black and white. I think maybe I've talked about that before, but you can put your phone on black and white mode and it doesn't stimulate your brain as much. You just like a grayscale for both iOS and Android mode that you can put your phone on. I think it's in like the I don't know, look it up, you find it, you figure it out. That helps a lot. You don't think about it as much. I haven't had to do that because I don't really spend that much time on my phone anymore. I'm just constantly developing stuff for VR and music and stuff, so I can't really be on my phone, which is awesome. But I think that, like, you know, as an artist, you judging whether or not your shit is worthwhile based on the numbers that it did, it's just such a mistake. It's such a trap. It's just pure ass. I've had other projects where I've gotten some pretty big numbers on stuff, and it's cool. It's nice, but it's not nearly as cool as connecting with people that fuck with you, even if it's just one or two people. Literally one or two people. So I feel like if you are out there and you're feeling like your shit's not that cool because you don't have likes or you don't have stats or you don't have whatever, like, honestly, seriously, fuck all that in half. Because it's soul crushing, it's not worth it, and it's not an accurate portrayal of reality. It's not the realness. Who gets to decide how valuable your art is or is not? Ultimately, that's you. So make sure you're being kind to yourself, because that's a thing that artists have a hard time with too. It's being kind to themselves. Update on Billain is that Billain crashed. Billain's internet is down. I don't know where Billain is in the world, but they're figuring it out. Billain is coming to be back online shortly. Let's see. Checking out the chat. Yeah, I think doing whatever you can to make sure that you are completely disengaged from quantifying any amount of your happiness or any amount of your sadness or just making sure that nothing is related to that space. Like nothing numbers, no other platform. There's no place that's got dominion over your own personal kingdom in that respect. Like, you make your art for you fuck with your shit, and that's enough. I think that's really huge. And then obviously it's amazing to share it with people and have it land. And you're right, Hypno, surrounding yourself with people that are gonna gas you up, and people that you're excited to share techniques with, excited to share your vision with, and that prop you up. That's a fucking huge one. That's an absolute huge one. I mean, creating in a vacuum is fine and can be just as fun, but yeah, having like just even one other person to bounce things off of is a huge thing. One of the things that I really like about the home Discord server is that there's a ton of artists in there, and I try to encourage people to share their work in there. And you should, if I'm sitting on the sidelines and you've wanted to interact with a community of artists from all different disciplines and stuff, we got a cool space going on in there. People are from everything from AI stuff to graphic artists, DJs, producers, you know, people making VR stuff, all hanging out and sharing stuff and being supportive. So, you know, that's really important. If you don't have anywhere to go, that's bullshit. You got somewhere to go now, and we love to see your work. I love to see it. So please pull up on the home Discord and dump all that amazing shit out. Oh yeah, there's a Discord, Hypno. If you hit that signals link, the Ohm3 signals link that's been Streamlabs has been posting, it'll take you to the page, and you'll see the home Discord link right there. You can just splash right in. Come on in, the water's so nice. It's round ass water. I talk about this a lot. It's like when the pH is just right, how the water's like real round. I'm sure there's a thing for that, and I you know, someone that knows a fuck ton about water or fluids. I don't know, Jonesy, don't you know about fluids? Is that one of your things? I don't mean that in any kind of cracked way. I just mean I thought I know you're a science brain too. You're an engineered science brain. You might know about fucking fluids. Okay, Jonesy knows about fuck fluids. That's good. We should all know about that. I think, yeah, no. When the water's perfect, when you buy or you get some expensive ass water and it's just round. Why is it like that? Why is it all round like that? Do we know? That seems like a mystery. The monkey's paw is curled. I don't know. I need to know why the water's round. Or is it because I got orb mind? I probably got orb mind. See how Billain's doing. Frank's doing well too. Still no Bill in the chat. It's all good. We rolling with it. Frank's building like a super slide from the looks of it. That shit is actually fun. If someone's got a world link for that and they can drop it in for that world, that would be rad, because people should go check that place out. Billain's still in the trenches fighting the good fight. I wonder if something really quick. Let me check a thing real quick. There we go. Yeah, that map is super cool. You have to, interesting though that there's no templates or anything. Like, if you want to ride a roller coaster or you want to do that thing, if you want to make a slide, you have to build that thing yourself if you want to have the experience. I haven't done that part yet. Oh, look, we got a gray in the chat too. That's the rarest, grayest mage, whose set I thoroughly enjoyed at Mass last weekend. Now that's something I can talk about, is Mass last weekend. Woo! That was my favorite Mass. It was something special. The vibe was super dope. That was the first time I hadn't played a Mass and I made a little battle station in the back for myself, and I ran visuals all night. I VJ'd all night, and I fucking loved it. I loved sitting back there and just listening to everybody vibing and laughing, and just I don't know. I because of where I was, and because I was focused on visuals, my ears were like just dialed into everything, and we have just such a beautiful space, man. Like, there's so many rad people around, and so many, just like, I just didn't hear not a single sparkle of a bad vibe. The whole night was just really, really rad. Yeah, and the death pit was a lot of fun. I put I put that little battle station in the back, and I had there's a catwalk that goes over to it, and I had a collider underneath it to prevent people from falling. But
What's happening? But I can only access it through the phone.
Hold on, Bill, you're overloading.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh. This sound check was brought to you by Bill on the phone. All right. Wow. This is what I got you at negative 30 dB. Woo. All right, let's see. This is
a mic with a better quality.
Oh my goodness. Negative 36 now. Hey, can you, in the chat, how loud is Bill right now? Bill, tell us a bedtime story.
Once upon a time, there was 21st century where there was internet everywhere, except in this piece of shit of a country where I lost it.
Where are you right now again?
Yeah, I'm currently in Belgrade, and I was accessing through the SIM card, I guess, and now again through the SIM card. But yeah, I cannot access the internet through the this is adventure. I cannot access the internet anymore through desktop, which means I will have to resolve it tomorrow. But I have just enough bandwidth to continue the conversation through the phone, which is amazing.
Yeah, wow, that is actually pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's very, like, how do you call this, like, internet nowadays? Like, metaversal, right? I think.
Oh God. Oh God. So let me finish what I just want to touch on. I want to wrap up. I was talking about Mass and how special that night was. I just want to big up all the DJs that played. Every single DJ smashed it. It was beautiful. I loved making visuals for everyone. I'm gonna do that more. I just had a lot of fun with that whole night, and it was really special. I think that was Gray's first time playing. Gray absolutely smashed it. Gray, I'll have the VOD very soon, and for the Patreon fam, the VOD will be up very soon. Had to go through we had some technical difficulties during the stream, so had to pinch it together here. But it was just really, really special, and I'm really thankful for everybody that came, and I'm thankful for everybody that hangs out, and I'm thankful for that entire community. It's just something special. The next Mass will be the last Mass, and we're gonna give it a hell of a send-off, and I will announce it on a future Signal stream, maybe the next Signal stream. I'll announce the last Mass as we send it off. Oh shit, Frank, you lost your, that seems important. That seems important, my guy. Oh well. So Bill, we got you back, and I don't remember what the fuck what were we talking about before you vanished?
I think we were talking about still like exiting the Dune conversation, I think, when this whole thing happened.
Oh yeah. Well, if you haven't figured it out, Billain and I really like Dune. And I ordered the art book. I can't wait for that to show up. It's called the Art and Soul of Dune, and they had a limited edition that I would have loved to have owned, but it was $500, and those all sold out, and now they're $4,000 pretty much. And it had an extra piece that included I think the director of photography's notes, along with like extra like their shots and stuff from around. So hopefully
dope, yeah.
that gets out somewhere that we can all enjoy, because that seems like a little too sacred for people that can spend $500 on a book to have only. Which I'm not saying it's not worth it. I'm not saying it's not worth it at all. There's,
Yeah.
that fuck yeah, I love art books. Art books are like,
Yeah.
that's like my absolute favorite shit. I want a library full of art books.
The word. Yeah, library, perfect library. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's my favorite shit right there. I even like art books from like just like old video games. I just love seeing people's creative concepts, and you're probably the same way. I'm just always crawling all over like how people like concept things and come up with things, and kind of always feeding the beast, so to speak.
It's a manifest of someone else's research for something, their imagination and their visions, and it's nice to see them in this like profoundly curated manner. And it's very rare when it comes in such a pack, and that they have been directly looking over the books and everything, choosing, and so.
Yep. Hey, should we even say a thing? Should we wait to say a thing? And this is all we say about it.
I don't know. It's your call, man. Not yet.
This is it. This is it. We'll just leave it at this. We'll wait to say a thing. This is all we're gonna say about that thing.
Yeah.
That sounds. I like that decision. I like that. I feel good about that. So Frank now has a donut, and had a donut, and has built, I think, like a super Yeetatron 9 million to launch himself clear across the world. I wonder how big that actual world is, like how big you can make that thing. Wow, Frank, that thing's fucking tall. That shit. Wow. Oh, what now? Oh shit. Hold up. Hold on one sec, Bill. We got a thing going on.
Yeah.
Hold on one second. What the fuck?
Time for us to adopt a new company brand to encompass everything that we do. To reflect who we are and what we hope to build, I am proud to announce that starting today, our company is now Meta.
We fighting in the driveway, they can wait a minute. I'll cook your body sideways and serve you when I'm finished. Bust the knuckle, shut the front row. Down black boots, thunder skull, I stalk you. Ow, my fingers, I should have been you down.
It is time for us to adopt a new company brand to
Roger that. Roger that. Roger that. Shout out. You know what? Shout out Shelter. Shout out Shelter. Shelter was leading the charge with some of the sentiment, and so that's actually a decent segue. Wow, we got a gift. It was a beautiful gift. Thank you. And decent segue into that. Wow, what the fuck? I mean, no one's surprised. Absolutely no one is surprised. And it just feels so surreal a little bit. Like, why's it gotta be that? Why's it gotta be them? Oh. Did we lose a Bill?
Yeah.
Did we lose a Bill? You still there, Billain?
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, I just...
I just don't have visual feed anymore, so I'm imagining everything you say.
Oh, got you. Yeah, so without your visual feed, you just didn't see what that was. That makes sense. Yeah, that was the part of the Facebook unveil, just with a slightly different twist. I'm still calling them I'm still calling them Facebook. I can't get into it. It's look, like the fact that like that company has done so many gnarly things, and the fact that they're using this to sort of distance themselves from all of that bullshit, it just couldn't sit worse with me. And it doesn't matter. Ultimately, I know, like, this'll, like, in 4 or 5 years, it doesn't matter how much we piss, bitch, and moan about things, that a company that size is just gonna be a company that size, and it'll be a force in your life. But Meta, you know?
Yeah.
What? How did it hit you when you heard about it? What do you think?
I'm like, I kind of felt I was predicting it a little bit, because you have to understand how these big companies work, and that is not really a hard thing, because they're always driven by someone else's ideas. And it's like gentrification. If you have a squat of certain cool place that's been abandoned for many years and becomes a cultural center, it starts gathering artists, musicians, graffiti artists, it becomes a gentrification. I believe so that it is also possible to gentrify, if such a term exists, gentrify words. It's been, it gets spoken just enough times to create a sense of importance, and someone just like goes there in the research and says, is this word protected, sir? Yes, no. Yeah, if no, let's just buy it of someone LLC.
Let's buy this fucking word.
Yeah. But here, that's not even, like, this is like all, when you think of it, it's strategic, because you're working on a VR, so now you want to have the most important word of VR at the moment to be able to center yourself. This is not the way to actually do things, but I don't think they get it, and that's where my problem is.
You think?
Nobody sits with actual people to tell them that everything that they have been doing so far is nothing but wrong forever.
Forever.
And
That'd be a rough chat to have, to be honest.
It's mind-boggling to me that they don't literally understand
Here's the thing.
that there's a universe already existing, and then they cannot destroy what has been created already everywhere around the world, and they can just pretend that they are the first.
I'll tell you what.
For me, it's a bit of an identity theft, an identity crisis, and a little bit of we can make a shit ton of money out of this, so let's do it.
Yeah,
over the bodies of like creators, real people,
Yeah, I agree, and I think, like, okay, there's already a lot of Facebook in our midst, and we don't necessarily know to the extent that's already taking place. There's a lot of people working on tech that's coming down the line.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people around in the VR space that are with it, and I'm happy for them that they can, make a living doing something that they love or messing with stuff that they enjoy. So I'm not shitting on anybody personally. I also think that, like, it's actually really cool that people are kind of up in arms about this. Like, someone in the Discord, in the home Discord, made like looked like something that you could see on a picket sign that was like anti-meta, like, you know, like I love that people are so attached to what we have and so attached to, you know, what we've been doing that they do feel like literal disgust about it. And I think that's really interesting. I also know how small of a tribe we are, you know, by the numbers and by comparison, and their imprint, you know, we hope that the way we see it will be understood, will be valued, will be a part of the puzzle. It won't be for their universe. Like our metaverse will never be what their metaverse is, and we
Of
just
course,
we
it's like
continue to
different
make
worlds.
we can but what we can do is we can always continue to make our own. Now we can make our own fucking
Yeah,
worlds,
exactly.
and now we'll
We're not
always
going to
make this shit in the
Yeah, we're not
cracks.
going to create like an army, a world domination. Like we're gonna stay in our own lane. So to me, if they're Disney, you know, we are Denis Villeneuve, and we now know what Denis Villeneuve can do.
Right.
Facts. That's
Right.
how I feel it.
Right. Yeah. And so that's the sandboxes that we enjoy right now. As long as collectively there are enough artists and coders keeping an eye on making sure that these sandboxes stay full of sand, or that, you know, the boxes exist, period, and that we keep having these worlds to develop, and we're gonna be fine. And it's an inevitable, but like, you can't give us what we have here right now and then like and then reduce that or shrink it. We're gonna build it again. Like it's unavoidable at this point. But it's delusional to assume that when you make something cool and people notice, that other people aren't gonna come jack it and make money off of it. But you just keep making cool shit and you keep moving.
Of course. Like it's unavoidable. People are gonna come. People are gonna offer money, the way they offer to Discord, the way they're gonna offer to VR chat, the way they're gonna offer, like they're gonna say, like, can we buy your product? For what purposes? I don't know. Maybe reshape it into a new brand, merge it with another brand, or just close it because it's a competition.
Mm-hmm.
That thing happens all the time in the world. This is something that, like, we're all aware of, and
I think it has to do with the community portion of it, right? Like, because that's what's unique. I mean, people have been building isolated VR worlds and planets is forever.
Community is always a collateral thing, and unfortunately, because I don't know, it's just like really bad luck, really bad side to stand on. Like when you're becoming a part of something that's just like getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and you've been there from the beginning, and then you start to see that that's not your home anymore. So you start like checking other places and stuff. It's never good to be a community of something that does not want to try harder, and to understand that community has always been part of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very important message. And it's really important for developers and founders of any place or any community to understand that they're nothing without the community. They're really like easily sellable and purchasable thing, and yeah, I think what my message here is that we survived this long because we did had a very responsible and nice community and nice surrounding of people and friends who are really creative and really doing something quite interesting. Even without knowing what we're actually making, we're making a lot of stuff on the go, while someone pours millions and millions and millions and still does not know what he's doing. So like that's a big difference. You cannot produce originality. I'm still back at that same thing over and over and over again. You cannot put originality as a mass, as a huge mass thing, you know, like a mass production or an idea that's going to spread that easily. Because what I watched with this whole presentation was nothing but chaos. Chaos, chaos, chaos. He reigned for a whole hour and a half of chaos, saying, we're going to have this, and yeah, by the way, we're going to have that, and we're going to have this. We also have that, well, we have this, and we will have this. Dude, like, there's another word for that. It's Disneyland, and it existed for a long time, and it's a nice entertainment, but no one stays in the Disneyland for long. Everybody goes elsewhere, you know.
And to a darker and kind of a kind of a more frightening subtlety of all this is, you know, it is such, our communities are such sacred spaces for us. Our community in here is a sacred space for us. The thought of all of the extra metrics that will be had from, let's say, eye tracking technology or all the other like body tracking, all the metrics that will be collected and no doubt be used for, you know, similarly divisive and nefarious uses, like in use cases like that part I really don't like. Its impact, its potential impact on what happens with communities in those spaces. Like when you look at, like, you know, when I see certain posts, I barely ever fucking look at Facebook anymore. It's just a dog kennel. You just see people barking in these like their own little stratified, like, you know, linear deposits of ideology and just fucking barking about this, that, or the other thing, and all just repeating the things that all the bots told them that they should repeat, spoon feeding their ideologies to them. Like, I can't imagine, actually, the sad part is I can imagine that happening with what we have now. Imagine being at a party, someone next to you is actually an AI, and they start offering opinions about shit, and they know, you know, based on they have some visibility into you and your profile and who you are. They know which way way you lean before anything, and they start steering a conversation to just slowly train your ideology over a long period of time. But in VR and in person, it'll be much more fucking persuasive. Like, that's some gnarly concept, you know?
Yeah. You're literally gonna have like you know, a concept per person, and that's very, like, you know, that's horrible. It's just a very horrible idea. No one's understanding the boundaries that are about to be crossed in many different aspects of a being, like someone that has, like, you know, is going somewhere. Like, imagine just like going to a club and there's, like, you know, someone coming to you, like, you know, do you accepted Mark as your overlord yet, sir? You know,
Yeah.
and you know, what's next? You know, discounts, points, behavior. You already have metrics that says, like, whether you're a good person or a bad person on Facebook based on what kind of dark humor you have, because AI cannot understand dark humor or any other, like, stuff.
It's getting better.
Fine, you know.
But our last stand, honestly.
You have stuff like that are not funny anymore. You have sensitive stuff. Imagine how that translates immediately onto someone who's trying to moderate it based on the experience, a very trashy experience on Facebook. When he applies that to VR, that's a catastrophe waiting to happen, literally.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. And I mean,
like, people manage themselves as a community without any overlord, and everything was allowed. Like, literally, there was a point where everything was allowed in our community, and then we just, like, moderated it a lot by ourselves as well, saying, like, yeah, you can do here, no, don't come here with this type of avatar, and so on and so on and so on. We would kick people out of our worlds. Micromanagement.
Or how about this? What I wonder about is I wonder what the dopamine levers are in VR, and I wonder how I mean, obviously that's going to be one of the first places they go, is to figure out what behaviors like turn you into a little pellet accepting rat. No offense to rats. And how big those levers are in VR and what those are, and now they have more metrics to gauge it. I mean, the amount of that you can tell with eye tracking about a person. You can tell when they're aroused, you can tell when they're angry, you can tell when they like something or someone, or what if they hear something pleasing. I mean, the amount, the layer of personal data being breached there is wild. But when that is then turned into a mechanism that's designed to be, because we still don't have anything that protects us from technology preying on our animal our animal unction. There's still nothing that protects us from technology hacking our brains straight up. And
what an exciting time to live in, honestly.
Yeah.
Lots of these concepts were watched, but especially like the technology of like a distancing technology has seen the full explosion and expansion during this pandemic era, which is like supposedly to be like, you're over the time of the biggest inflation, and the expand on the graphics card and the mining and all of that. It's like it's a marvel of its own, wouldn't you say? Like,
yes,
it's so wild to see that now, and like it is going to be accessible to so many people more than ever. Like, that's the plus side. The plus side is like people are going to get to learn what VR is more than a bigger percentage, which means potentially that people who are going to be tired of this bland, pretentious, like, you know, behavior of Facebook are going eventually to find out about other mediums, like where we at now, like VR chat and all. So that's a plus side. The negative side is like, well, there's a lot of people that will going to be hired by Facebook or evil corporation. So there's going to be a lot of artists working in the VR departments, maybe even building different like engines and more further like trying to create a world that can compete with the other worlds, and possibly even taking ideologies. But also, so that's a minus side, because like we're gonna have a big talents going to a really bad places to work because of the inflation.
Yeah, yes,
I
because you can.
I think that's what they're hoping. That's what they're hoping. But I also think that not a lot of people are going to just like allow themselves to work in a something like that. To me, even if it's a payment good, like I still think if I was an artist and I was invited to work there, I would say that's a very unhealthy environment. I don't have a lot of explanations what I would conclude at, but I know and I can feel how strict and lifeless this is.
All I can say is I've been in some similar situations, and I know exactly what I would do, because I've been doing it to a certain extent. So I wholeheartedly agree, and I think, you know, like I said, no disrespect to people that like want to get paid to you know, deal with technologies that they love and then put food on the table and like take care of themselves. Fuck yeah, I think that side of it's awesome.
Well,
it's just not
like,
for me personally.
That's the plus side. People are gonna learn, not just like yeah, exactly. I'm just gonna add to that. Like, some people are gonna learn to make like environments and stuff. That's not going to probably be a permanent job for them. That's going to probably be a place where they can start learning, and they're going to go elsewhere because they're going to start thinking about doing something different and so on.
Yep.
So yeah, this is a giant stepping stone. If this is a thing, I think this is a giant stepping stone for humanity. of like further development of like this weird new media.
Well, here's what we're stepping towards. We're stepping towards being able to slide into a nearly instantaneous feedback loop with our fantasies, where reality is dictated by the fantasy that's dictated by the reality. And when people, for instance, put on their first pair of like really good AR glasses and they see how insane this shit's about to be, when the shit that we're working on is now pouring out into the streets, into the real world, and how, you know, how thin that veil really is. And when AI gets into the picture, when we can just speak things into existence quite literally, and we can speak enough of that, there will be people that will be gifted, almost like fucking mages, that people that can build worlds and bind spells and become influential just on their ability to cast and wield symbolism in such a prolific and such an over and all-encompassing environment, where that they can spellbind, you know, tens of thousands of people with an experience instantly. I mean, we're coming into some just really crazy new territories for what it means to
you're possibly going to have new ways to hack someone's profile by just mating them in VR. It's like pickpockets.
Yeah.
And taking a credit card. Honestly, that's going to be quite mental.
Yeah, you get your crypto wallet stolen just by standing next to somebody at the club.
Yeah, you opt in like to have some kind of payment by like, you know, pressing a certain like remote from your side, or looking at it for 5 seconds, or maybe just choosing it via some other controller. But imagine someone just like, what would it take to go like, how do you hack a other person next to you? Let's talk cyberpunk. I mean, seriously, how do you come to a club full of people and you come to someone else, you stand next to someone else, you kind of sniff their like a VR avatar? Imagine that. Just
right.
You go like, because you will have to have like a server that's actually moderating like some kind of distancing between each user. If not, some integral part of your device will be able to pick up IP addresses of different people from in a meta way. So imagine like going further down that road.
I thought about things like, you know, what if even less direct things that could be nefarious that you don't think of, like if someone basically figured out a way to like create a fourth dimensional view of you based on all of your combined movements through a metaverse. Like they're looking at the snake trail that you leave behind you and having an AI study the movements and the motions of the snake, and then deciding like what your personality is and how to best manipulate you based on the movements of your fourth dimensional snake.
A fingerprint, basically, yeah. So, I mean, even the fingerprint, if you register your fingerprint in a phone, I guess that's just a bunch of data, you know. And if you have a bunch of data, well, you got yourself a way to migrate that bunch of data for other means.
Yeah,
so...
It is Halloween. We should be talking about spooky VR shit. That's true. That's true. I normally see. I try to focus on the possibility. I always sort of like tip the compass, or point the compass towards, you know, North Star for me is that I believe that all these things will empower artists and empower new kinds of bonding experiences, and will, you know, can evoke more empathy. And I think there's all these amazing upsides to it. And I think I'm annoyed with sci-fi's just inability to stay focused on that shit for very long. And the conversation always goes, or, you know, especially it's because it's entertaining, right? To be afraid of things, but sometimes you do have to dig in and talk about what you should be afraid of as well, because these are realities that we're facing.
Let's talk about possible crazy things. Like, let's talk about, for example, imagine, you know, sensitive people, and then like create a psychohack. Psychohack to me, I'm just inventing, like freestyling my mind right now. That could probably be imagine just like creating a world where inviting some people or friends, or like creating an instance that look like a world similar to the other world, but you programmed like mental amount of jump scares, and or even like combined with strong stroboscopic lights and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's extremely scary, because now you're invading someone else's sensory. I mean, you're still tied to sensory, but lots of people would find that extremely uncomfortable, for example,
Mm-hmm.
even on the health level as well.
Quick ding, we have a Strasz in the chat. Welcome, Strasz.
Hey, hey.
Hey.
You came in just in time. We're
I heard lots of horror going on, so I had to come in.
yeah. Yeah, and chat, let us know if, how Strasz levels are. I'm doing my best navigating between these two different types of signals here. How you living over there, Strasz?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been a hell of a day. I'll tell you that much. I think I've it's been a pretty busy day regardless, but so much of my brain power has been taken up by thinking of new and creative ways in which the world's going to become a dramatically worse place.
Right.
Yeah.
What you were actually just talking about, Billain, when something that was terrifying me today, and I've been thinking about it all day through like the lens of things I think about in VR chat and problems to solve in VR chat. People are always talking about like content theft, and Facebook made this big play today talking about how they're going to make sure the people who buy things, it stays theirs, and virtual identity and all this nonsense. And all I kept thinking to myself is they're showing these people that are being like scanned and have like accurate visemes and have emotions that can be mirrored or whatnot. I just kept thinking to myself,
I've seen that.
It's impossible for this stuff to actually be locked down. Like there's no way for it. If it's rendered on someone else's computer, then it's easy to steal. And I just kept thinking to myself, people think it's bad now when you get an avatar stolen, you get your identity stolen like VR chat. Imagine your actual identity gets stolen as a 3D avatar that cannot be differentiated between your actual self. Throw some like voice modeling in there. That's horrifying. And that's going to happen to like basically anyone that would upload like a full 3D face scan of themselves, which it sounds like that's what they would want everybody to do, which is just...
I'm telling you, like even the very fact of like analog, a gesture that you're leaving a fingerprint on a scanner of your phone is not convincing enough. Like, it's just a bunch of data. And with the right tools and knowledge, it can become anyone's bunch of data and not yours. So, like I know that it's all about convenience, but convenience was never our stronger side. We never had it. We were walking around with the RFID and just a bunch of numbers that anyone can copy via cards and so on and so on and so on. And now making all those things combined accessible worldwide is not really a convincing game to me. They have to come up with something so advanced. Like, if I were them, and I actually am scared, like shit scared, like how to protect data, because I will fail if I don't do that. I would pour probably like 70% of current budget into security, like of the data, because I'm not convinced about the protection at all. No way.
No.
Absolutely no way. You can sniff a WPA2. You can crack. You can have a handshake in a relatively small amount of time. I mean, the encryption, there is a bunch of encryptions, but it just takes time and knowledge to crack each. And this is like our best known kind of, knowledge how to protect ourselves from elsewhere.
Yeah, and when you consider that too, we're not that far away from quantum computing being a thing that is
Yeah,
going to be
also.
pretty reliable and actually usable.
It's on a desktop level now. So
Yeah.
in a very short span of time, it's not a giant chandelier that we'll all watched over the Google search, golden chandelier with in a minus how many degrees Celsius like room. Now it's on a room temperature and working, which means 2 years time it's going to be on a phone. So
Yeah, it's
yeah.
only a matter of time. And like that's the thing is, as soon as quantum computing becomes a thing, then encryption as we know it has to dramatically change. And there's certainly like it's not that it can,
No, we
but
have to have a quantum encryption immediately from that moment.
100%, 100%,
Yeah.
it's necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah, things are gonna get.
It just happens we don't have it now, and all of the people are just going to enjoy the hell out of very, very awkward moments in VR.
That's true. Yeah,
Black Mirror, man. Black Mirror.
Yeah,
honestly.
see, okay, so but this is also
it's
my issue with just too much propping up of that shit. Like what we experience, we sort of drift into these places, you know? All the more reason why I feel like promoting what's, you know, not to shy away or be ignorant of like what can be damaging by any means. But to like, you know, spend time promoting
curious
positive shit
thinkers.
with what we create. To make sure that we go out of our way to at least contribute to the net good and not contribute to the fear, because in a way we co-author our reality with the things that we decide to put into place, and it's going to become more and more powerful the more visceral the experiences that we create are, and it's already pretty fucking visceral with what we're doing right now.
You know, something that sticks in my mind, this is kind of only slightly related. I remember there was this dude that got mercilessly made fun of on the internet for like a long time when VR was first becoming a thing. I don't remember if it was when the Vive came out or the Index came out, but there was this dude that wrote this story, and I think it was on Polygon or one of those like gaming blogs, and he wrote this story about how basically he was playing like Hover Junkers or Pavlov or something, and you know, just playing the game, shooting people, and he was just talking about how he felt more anxiety and just like stress of like the shooting other players than he would have when playing any other like flat game. And then he mentioned seeing like a teammate put their gun in their own mouth and shooting themselves, and he's like really taken back by it, and like he couldn't get that out of his head for a couple of days. And people were just like ragging on this dude on the internet, like, you know, it's just a game, how could that possibly get you? But I think that like we're rapidly approaching that point at which the experiences that we experience, it's gonna be redundant, the experiences that we see in virtual reality are going to reach a level that is so realistic, combined with like additional haptics and whatnot, that I do think that there's like this potential for mental terrorism, essentially, where people can, and not without like no hacking, nothing, just presenting you with an experience that fundamentally like scars you for life, right?
Yeah.
I think that we're super close to that, if not already there.
That's what I brainstormed when I said like there's going to be psycho hacks.
Yeah, so, yeah, just get fucking scarred real quick, like, just someone's got an avatar that's basically like, just some like really gory, like really fucked up shit, or it's a room full of gory
honestly,
shit.
It doesn't even need to be that. It just needs to be like all the videos there are, like, you know, from
Like a jump scare video, right?
No. Just like the more like the, let's say like all the horrible, like imagine just someone who has all the videos from dark web, and just like instead of putting you into the world, just plays you that or something.
Right. Yeah, I think we're saying similar things. I just mean like you could present that on an avatar in like a 3D way.
Yeah, I couldn't like So to many people, that would be unimaginably hard to overcome.
Yeah,
That's
I'm one of those people that, like, when I watch a
yeah.
fight scene, like, my leg will involuntarily twitch, like blocking a kick or something. Like just watching things, my nervous system is like super fucking engaged. And then in VR,
Yeah, high sensory. It's called high sensory perception, I think. And you know, if you have that, things gonna get to you.
Yeah.
So like there's a big, I think it also comes with intelligence, and there's a bigger number of people actually also experiencing high sensory perception exponentially with the rise of like all kind of like perception speed and everything that you're doing because of the phone technology and everything. So it means that more people are at risk to be exposed at all kinds of like nutcase scenarios where someone's gonna just like play you a video of a genocide from some place, you know.
Right. Photogrammetry scanned fucking
Real stuff.
genocide somewhere. Yeah.
Real stuff. So this is like Ghost in the Shell. This is literally like just mentally hacking your brain, or emotionally just like hacking your brain, or you know, whatever. So like we have that factor. We have factor that your identity can be taken, or we can have a factor where you can have like a your account sniffed by, like, you know, card and other information for money theft and whatever.
Or be emotionally manipulated long term in such a way as to join a political cult, or like they can literally create an avatar that like is similar to like and a voice that matches it similar to your own mother.
I think
so that you're hold on one second. So that you're subtly like influenced by, you can't really put your finger on it, but you're attracted to this person or this avatar, this thing, and you form a friendship with them, and they just, you know, it's a long-term play, but eventually you find yourself in a fucking political or even like a real cult, religious cult. Like that's something that can happen pretty people can be swayed really easily if you've got enough data on them, and then you have the means to generate that shit, which we do now. Like if you combine, you know, some of the shit where like, you know, they can make faces that don't exist, but you can weight the generation of those faces so that it is subtle enough. It's like, wow, this, you know, this thing really fucking reminds me of my mom, or you maybe unconsciously just experience that, or whoever, maybe they know enough about you to know who the right person to influence you would be. Like that shit's insane to me.
I think what they're aiming for, honestly, if they have such power, I think they're surpassing the idea of having being an industry of entertainment stuff. I think they're going on a level to have a very important political involvement, to the terms of like being absolutely on par with some kind of government system, and also demanding that the government has to work with them in order to like, or govern, you know.
The government will do that shit if they aren't already.
So yeah, because that's a very Orwellian but a really real kind of thing that they would aim for. So if you look at the examples, you have corporations that actually work with governments, and you, for example, the closest one we have is in China. So China already has a system that has everything. It has entertainment, it has your account tied to like your citizen points, and is also in charge of like having you monitored around, you know, whether you're jaywalking or not. So people opt in because they like what's the rest on the platform. And they're like, oh, of course, I'm not going to jaywalk, of course, and so on, so on, so on. So before you knew it, you have a central system, you have a corporation that works closely with the government, and you're pretty much told how, on a micromanagement, how you should behave, in what cases, and what can you speak about and not, what websites you can visit and not. Mm-hmm. So imagine the exact mirror of that, not in contrast, but like imagine that they see that as a very successful model for their like they aspire to become that kind of level of leadership because they think that's a really high-end goal, when in fact maybe it isn't. I don't know.
A
I don't live
corporation can
there
do that
to
just as
know.
easy. A corporation can mimic those
But
same
yeah.
things, you know? Like,
So imagine Facebook/Meta becomes so big that's having like, all these opt-in cameras are around the glasses and the headsets and everything. It's everywhere around your house and everything. So now they're even in your house and stuff. So, but I mean, that's an old story. We already have that with our phones, smartphones and so. But the smartphones are not a centralized system. This is a centralized system because it
right.
just accesses you directly, like
Well, hold on a second.
literally
Sorry,
one
Frank.
system.
Frank has got just fucking pure chaos going on. I don't know. I wasn't following what led up to this, but it doesn't look good for our boy Frank. I just saw fucking.
What is he doing?
I just saw fucking like 80s. Yeah, I think Frank might be toast because that didn't look good the way that ended. Wow. Yeah, I agree with you, Bill. I think it's kind of fucked up. Like, you can imagine them really easily, a corporation really easily stepping into that same place, that same position. And, with the way to scale these techniques, like, I remember maybe 7-8 years ago trying to tell my family, like, hey, there's going to be some fuckery around this election cycle because we see the increased participation of like chat bots essentially just mimicking, like talking points of politicians, and these things are just being updated like, further and closer to the edge of real time. And it's going to cause a real problem with genuine public discourse because these bots are going to overwhelm and take over the narrative of these conversations. And I remember my family just being like, well, not necessarily my family, my direct family, they believed me, they were into it, but I guess people around me, I threw up flags saying, hey, this is going to be a big deal, and people were just kind of like, yeah, maybe, I don't know, that could be a thing. I'm like, no, it is a thing. And they're like, well, what are they going to do? They're just going to make millions of bots that say like whatever they want. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what the fuck is gonna happen. So like dismissing some of these ideas is just like casually insane. Well, like, fuck no, like these ideas like are so easy for people to propagate if they have the right systems figured out and enough money to pull it off. Because when you have that much money, you have time, you have stacks of people's time, and you can get them to do whatever the fuck. And now we can generate things just at such an insane rate. It's gonna be wild. And I'm wondering, something like Facebook looks like Facebook or Amazon or Google. These look like, I'm wondering like who's the first to step up into these territories, like to become their own state or their own,
honestly I'm eating popcorn and looking at all these like mega giants competing between themselves, who is going to be worthy of a government.
I don't think they need to. I think they've already grown past that point, right? Like the
but I mean they the hunger of, like if you have such an addiction, and we're humans, even that guy is a human. I think it's a crazy addiction. You can't get out of it. You're literally trying to figure out, like, even if you think, like, you can easily be delusional, like, and the example of like what kind of world you're building you're surrounded by artists, yet you build like something that looks worse than any like that, something that's on a level, I don't know, it's just like this taste like of 3D models and the worlds, how they look, is like already delusional by default. You have the most powerful company and you choose to put such a distasteful like bunch of like characters. Something's wrong. You immediately, I know something's wrong when everyone's in this corner playing with the toys that we know, like these are really cool toys and stuff, and there's another kid like playing with a dead pigeon, you're gonna say like, why are you doing that?
Right.
You know,
Beautiful.
that's how it
Yes,
feels to me. That's how I
that brought a
perceive
tear
him.
to my eye, Bill. That was cool.
That's how I perceive him, honestly.
I get it. Yeah, like I was talking to some people earlier when I was watching that presentation, and I kept thinking of it. Like, so, like, okay, let me say this first. I think to some extent, it's like, I think that there's people within there that do have the desire and the push for all of this stuff, and I think that there is like that burning motivation to like command and control humanity as a whole by all of these corporations. But I think it's pretty mundane, like to some extent. And this is not what I wanted to talk about, but I just want to pop it out. But to some extent, I think like the rebranding to like Meta and all this stuff is really just, it's just for them to get away from the legislators that are just starting to breathe down their back, because they know they can play these stupid imposter moves basically to get people off of their back, because the governments are slow, governmental bodies are slow, and they move faster.
Yeah, that's true.
But with that said, I really had to talk about the aesthetics because it's so drab. It's just,
Yeah, it is.
I said to somebody earlier, the presentation reminded me of about like 15 years ago. We're kind of beyond this now in the gaming space, but like 15 years ago in the gaming space during E3 and whatnot, you'd always see these like suits come out and talk about video games, and they put on these big presentations of what they thought like people having fun looked like. And it was always like the most bizarre stuff that would come out there. And this had the exact same feeling, where you
Yeah.
know that, right? Like, you know that there's got to be people that are genuine fans and extremely talented and all of this stuff that are working at these companies, are getting paid a ton of money, and yet this is what they come out with,
Yeah,
It's just,
yeah, exactly. Really
it
good
shows
point.
something.
Really good point. Yeah, true. Yeah, that's definitely the thing that we keep seeing, I guess.
Yeah, it's just,
More major scale, I guess. That's why it's so more visible, and it's now like in front of your face, and it's like, oh, okay, stop it.
they don't get it,
You know?
They
Yeah.
get the it's the same thing. I come back to this all the time. You have like Facebook specifically, they basically tell people to read Snow Crash when they join the company, and it's just like, it's almost unbelievable to a lot of people that how can this company pop up and tell people to read Snow Crash when the book is essentially like antithetical to everything that the company does. But they see that book, and it's not, they're missing it. The point of it completely goes over their head. They see the aesthetics, but they don't necessarily see the meaning behind them. And with the art style, it's kind of like the opposite thing, right? Like, they hear people want creative freedom, and they come up with this caricature of it that's not anything close. Like, does anyone in the metaverse want to be a perfect representation of themselves? Even when they were talking about at work or not at work, does anyone want that? It's almost so bizarre to think that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The aesthetics are, frankly, a little horrifying. Just, especially when you consider like the scale of the resources available to them. I don't understand why wouldn't, it's not hard to get. I mean, we are all within like it's hard to like you could throw a handful of pebbles and most of them would hit someone insanely fucking creative around us, and we don't have piles of cash. So I don't.
And if you drop that cash to place like to Sony, do you think they would make the same mistake?
Right. And
like, at least they have Sony Studios, and you have like something, at least like, they know that God of War is better than I don't know, fucking horse riding simulator.
well, and so V's point in the chat, which is like that it's it's beige, that it's like it's basically invisible. It's just fucking barely there. It's there without being there. Like, it's about as like, there's no way to offend, and I understand people are probably terrified of and of being canceled for X, Y, and Z decision or choice or whatever, or you don't want to rub people the wrong way, whatever it is. I get it, but like, come on, like, you know, like have a vision and like be a thing, and actually, I think it speaks a lot to that company, you know, wanting to change their name, having this be pretty invisible. It's almost like, you know, yeah, like we're doing this thing, but it's almost like we're not even here. It's almost like we're not Facebook. It's almost like it's just such a thing that's already there. It's already here. It's so easy. It's just a thing. And if you don't impose too much, then, and the canvas is clean enough, then maybe it just wipes their slates clean. Maybe it just wipes everything clean, right?
Here's the biggest problem. And not at one single point did he say you can be anonymous on this platform. Because some artists want to be anonymous.
I can
don't want
vibe
their
with that.
profile tied to that and something like that. They want to, like, they want to, like, there is a mysteriosity to certain artists, their behavior, their acts, their creation, whether it's music or building worlds or just like building 3D models or doing illustrations. There's a lot of people who actually do not want to have their main account and their main number tied to the appearance. How do you do that? How do you tackle that problem? They literally want to center every single person and give it one thing or instance. And how did you solve your problem? Like this is not considered freedom. I don't need to be myself in front of like 100 people. I want to sit in a corner and like, if I know this and this person, yeah, let's opt in. They know me, but why all the others and everyone? Literally, like this level of, I'm not saying like you can be absolutely mysterious, because that would be like, you know, some people would abuse that, you know.
Right.
But you know what I mean, that gray area where you don't need to be absolutely, you know, owned with identity to be somewhere, you know.
Yeah, that's why being able to customize your avatar completely, represent yourself completely, I think that's why it's such a powerful thing for so many people, because you know, like that freedom of expression is really special after you spend time doing that with a community. And when you have, you know, friends that recognize you as that skin and are those polygons,
I strongly believe a lot of people overcame like their problems by accessing a world and tackling, you know, their personality with a bunch of making new friends in a totally new way without the need of disclosing identity at first. This has helped, and I know for a fact that has helped a lot of people to actually find new friends. New, like, way of communication. And, you know, so, like, you know, what's the alternative?
Present company included.
Like,
yeah, I mean, the ability to craft your own identity and make it whatever you want it to be, completely isolated in a space, and even isolated from other spaces, I think is incredibly vital.
A safe place. Yeah, you know, like a safe place. That's what you mean. That's the purpose of it. Not just like for abusement. They see if someone crafts the identity, it's immediately an abuse. Well, it is if you have bad intents, but like we all have governing little circles, and you know, it's not gonna go to, you know, it's easy to tackle people that make problems for everyone else, and you know, but you know, so you're losing that kind of a freedom, and everybody thinks that's a better thing. It's when it's fact it's not.
No, especially with online systems. Typically, less than 1% of users are malicious, and if you are going after everyone just to get rid of that 1%, you're fundamentally causing more harm than you actually would be preventing, especially when it comes to any kind of identity creation, right? Like, that is the primary, if not one of the most important tenets of social VR is that you can come not just as you are, but whatever you want to be, and then choose how your flesh identity is or isn't represented, or it can go the other way too, right? You can try on an identity in this safe place, and if it works for you, then you can incorporate that as your actual identity. But if you're constantly locked into what you currently are, then the best you can do is essentially put on a costume, which is not the same thing as having an identity.
I think identity is more a powerful construct of the conversation than we may be aware of. I think subconsciously that's what's motivating a lot of the really strong feelings, and I think that your identity is forged from within, and also what's reflected to you from your community around you. And I think the fact that we've had an opportunity to explore both of those places kind of ahead of schedule is, you know, creating some of the formative baseline for, you know, our gut reaction to these things, because that's one of the most beautiful parts about this technology is its impact that it has on identity. And I think we're just scratching the surface with that. I think, like, imagine things evolve to a point where you're participating in worlds as like an organism, like you're like a floating man-o-war with your homies, basically, where everybody's got a different job manning some portion of the organism, and that becomes your identity. You think in a crew of 4 or something, like shit like that's possible in these new spaces. We got some cool territory to cover, but yeah, for now it's like it's like this like hyper focused mirror of what happens on the outside. Dress like this, look like this, behave like this, watch this thing, buy this thing. This is what it means to be successful. This is what it means to be, you know, have sex appeal or whatever the fuck. Like, it's more dictation. And when like your reality, because things will be increasingly that is going to be a layer of a lot of our, over the top of a lot of our lives here, you know, sooner than later. And these people get to dictate what reality is by dictating what the aesthetic is.
I think something that came to me while you were saying that is, I think I see the avatar as a sigil, right? It is fundamentally a tool that can broadcast something deeper to both yourself and to the people around you. And to have that control taken away from you fundamentally gives that ability to influence and control to somebody else. And so I think the extent to you control that sigil is really, it says a lot about the intentions of everyone involved.
Yeah, agreed. Big fat agree. Well, it's been nearly 2 hours, and this has been a beautiful conversation. And we've watched Frank die many times, only to be reborn again. It's a beautiful spark hurling through the universe, as Frank does. I think it's a good time to wind it down. I've got some things I gotta get into here as well, and I really appreciate both of you taking the time out, though. This was awesome.
Hell yeah.
And this is kind of more of what I would like to be. I would like to kind of pile on more voices, talk about some of these things. I think it's important that we stand up and talk about this shit too. Everybody should talk about it. Talk about it in VR. Talk about it in your Discords. Like, you know, these conversations are important for all of the reasons that we just fired off for the last hour or so here. It's more than what you think it is. How you get to represent yourself, how you get to participate in your reality down the line as we become more and more symbiotic with the technologies that we're using for our convenience. Sort of wrap their tendrils around us. We got to be thinking about these things. So this was good shit. And much love, Bill. I'm glad you made it back to the stream as well.
Yeah, sorry. I just realized that like this, I'm actually connected to totally different Wi-Fi, and that my local Wi-Fi has totally died. So
Well, we're ending it. I don't know
Yeah.
if you heard that. I was ending the transmission anyway, so you made it right on time. Thanks for
Okay.
surfing
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
surfing and figuring it out. Frank, thank you for keeping us entertained back there. You crush it as always, and thanks to the chat
Likewise, man.
for keeping us.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, much love. We'll be back. I do signals every other week. Maybe they'll be weekly, but for now they're every other week to keep myself this amount of bald. I don't want to lose my eyebrows and stuff too. So, but much love, and yeah, if nothing else, hey, focus on what you can control. Much love. We'll see you soon.